Good morning, everyone. This is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Welcome to my monthly paper company. This is Debbie Henderson from Debbie's Designs. Welcome to my Hold on, I gotta turn down the volume on my iPad. So, welcome to my monthly paper pumpkin alternative projects. This month, I am using the April paper pumpkin kit. Now, I've already gone ahead and created the little acetate box that came with the cards this month. As you can see, here's a picture of the 3 cards. There's actually 9 cards total, 3 of each, and then the little acetate box with a belly band around them. Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad you're here. I can see you all popping on. So let me just show you what the cards look like if you have this kit and decided to create them exactly like the kit, because they're so pretty that a lot of people are not even creating alternatives this month. So the first one is this happy birthday. It's got the pre-printed flowers on the background, and then the background paper for the card base. And I showed you the acetate box already. Now this can slide on and off. I just added like 1 glue dot underneath just to keep it there so it doesn't slide off. So anyway, there's card number 1. Card number 2 was a best wishes. And we stamped the flower and the leaves in the corner and then added all the layers. And the third card is this one, again with a watercolored pre-printed background. And the stamp set this month is actually called Distinctive. And if you're not familiar with the distinctive line that Stampin' Up! Carries, they're actually photorealistic images with lots of detail. So you can see in the flower and the leaf image here how much detail. And you'll see that as I start stamping today. I also wanted to mention for the month of May, make sure you're subscribed by May 10th. We have our very own Stampin' Up! Shelley Gardner, who helped design this kit. And there's actually a video on the Paper Pumpkin page showing one of the cards that comes with the kit. So make sure you sign up by the 10th of May if you want to receive the May kit. Very important. And you will not be billed until May 11th when they ship out. Okay, so the color that came with the kit this month is Gray Granite. I do save all of my little cubes even though I use my larger ink pads. These are perfect to use with the Stamparatus tool. So I keep all of mine in a box with the Stamparatus tool. Okay, so for my first alternative, I'm using Gray Granite and Mint Macaron. Now a lot of the cutting is done ahead of time to save time because I'm actually making 4 cards with you today. I've got the Clear Wink of Stella, the twine that came with the kit. For the card base, I'm using Mint Macaron 11 by 4 1/4, scored at 5 1/2. And I've gone ahead and let me bring the card back in from the first card. So you can see here that this is the card base. And what I've done is I've just cut it in half on the score line, and I'm using that for one of my layers. I'm going to go ahead and glue that in place. So even though this kit makes 9 cards, I ended up, when I'm done with you today, I'm going to have 12 cards with my kit. And I have very little pieces left over from all the layers that I had. Now this piece is also from one of the card bases. So I've just cut off a sliver. I ended up using the rest of it for another card. And this measures 1 inch wide. I always try to use what's in the kit and then I add a few supplies. That's going to go right on the edge. I've gone ahead and cut another layer with Mint Macaron 3 1/4 by 3 1/4. And I'm actually going to glue that in place with Stampin' Dimensionals. Now, for this card, I'm going to be trying something. I don't know if it's going to work, because I don't create these cards ahead of time. They're just all stuck in my head. So I'm hoping what I want to do with this one is going to turn out. I'm going to add this about 1/2 inch from the designer paper. And I've gone ahead and cut one of the watercolored pre-printed layers. That measures 2 3/4 by 2 3/4. Now this is where I'm going to stamp the flower with the gray granite ink. That's going to be right in the center. Now I've already gone ahead and done some of the stamping because I didn't want to have you have to watch me cut. So I did 3 of the leaves with the mint macaron ink. I cut them by hand. I have 3 layers of leaves with the vellum cardstock cut out with the leaf punch. 2 of the little tags that came with the kit. I shortened this one by about 1/2 inch and then just punched a hole. And then I fussy cut this flower. Now I'm going to bring in the clear wink of Stella. I want to add some bling, some sparkle to my flower. Now because I just inked this one, when I'm coloring with the wink of Stella, it's actually coloring a little bit of the gray ink. I don't know if you guys will be able to see that. It's really shimmery and shiny. I'm going to do that with this one. This one is not going to turn gray only because I cut it yesterday and it's had a time to actually dry up. Oh, you guys should see how shiny this is, how sparkly this is. Okay, so that's it for now. Let me see if you can, this one is really sparkly compared to the other one. I think because it didn't spread the gray. So now I'm going to glue this in place with dimensionals. So I've got 2 layers of dimensionals. So a lot of people did their kits right off because it's such a pretty kit that they didn't even wait to see any of the alternative projects that demonstrators are coming up with. That's going to go right there. Next, I'm going to add my twine. I'm going to wrap that around twice. And then before I do anything else, I'm going to stamp the sentiment with the mint. This one says "for you." Now let me go ahead and add my little banners through the twine. I'm not wearing my glasses, so I hope I can get that in there. Okay, wait a minute. I need to put the other one first because that's going to cover. Welcome to live videoing. You get to see the boo-boos. Okay, so that's going to go right. Let me fold this in half so I can work with this. It's going to go right in the corner of my flower. I'm just going to tie a bow. There were so many tags with this kit. I do have some tags left over. I've seen other people use them, a bunch of tags like in the background even. Okay, that's going to go right there. Isn't that cute? And in order for it to stay in place, I'm just going to add a little mini dimensional on the back. And this one's glued down, so this one will stay in place. I'm just going to leave that one loose. Okay, now here's my little experiment. What I want to do is layer this flower. Let me bring this down just a little bit. I want to layer the second flower, but I don't want it covering the whole thing. So what I'm going to do is scrunch it all up. And I'm really pressing hard to scrunch it. Now I'm going to open it back up. Maybe. I can't find the ends. Okay, look how that came out. It is working. So what I'm going to do now, so I can make sure it stays where I want it, I'm going to add 3 dimensionals right in the center. Boy, am I using a lot of dimensionals on this card. And I pretty much have it shaped the way I want. So I'm just going to go ahead and press that down. Oh, it worked. I'm so happy it worked. So there's my flower. It kind of gives it a 3D look. Now let's go ahead and add some of the leaves. I'm not sure if I'm going to use all of the leaves. I cut extra just in case. And I'm going to sneak some of the leaves in under the first layer, the first flower. Oh, I like that. That looks great. I think I'm just going to use 2 of each leaf. What do you guys think? Do you like the flower? I love it when a plan comes together. Like I said, I don't do these ahead, so I just kind of had it in my head what I wanted, and it's working out fine. There, I'm just going to add 2 of each leaf so I can keep these for another project. So there you go. There's project number 1. Now I'm going to set up for project number 2. I got little dimensional backings everywhere on my counter. Okay, let me just go ahead and clean my stamps. Oh, you guys like that. Thanks for all the love. I hope you like card number 2 also. Now for card number 2, I'm going to be doing a little bit of masking. So what I did is actually, I just want to give you a little tip. I'm just going to put this back together. So I've gone ahead and stamped the flower on a Post-it note. And when you do that, you have to make sure that you stamped where the sticky part is, which is up top. And when I cut the flower out to use as a mask, I make sure that I cut inside the ink lines. I want the flower to be a little smaller than the original. Now let's go over the layers. Flirty Flamingo 11 by 4 1/4, again scored at 5 1/2. Now this time what I did, let me see if I have another envelope. So you've noticed that we have some pretty paper inside of the envelopes. That's where this layer comes from. And what I did is I just cut off all 3 sides so it would open up. And I cut a piece that measures 4 1/4 by 3. I'm going to go ahead and glue that in the center of my card base. And then we're going to do some stamping. Okay, so that goes right in the middle. So it's tone on tone, but it's very pretty. Next, where I got this was on card number 1 when I cut it in half. So this would be the other half, but I did trim it down just a little bit. So this measures 4 3/4 by 3 1/4. Now let's do some masking. So for this card, I'm using Pool Party, Granny Apple Green, and Flirty Flamingo. I'm going to go ahead and open up all 3 of my ink pads. And I'm going to start out with the Flirty Flamingo. Now, so we talked a little bit about distinctive stamps. You can see the great detail on these stamps. So that's why it's called distinctive. They are photorealistic images. Now I've gone ahead and stamped my flower. I'm going to use the mask that I just created. I want to be able to see some of the Flirty Flamingo ink. And now I'm going to stamp Pool Party. I'm actually going to do that twice. So you can see where the ink overlapped on the Post-it note. When you remove this, look at the magic. Isn't that pretty? You can see all of the detail. And the reason there's no white space showing in between the flowers is because I cut my flower a little bit smaller to allow the ink to overlap. Now let's add another Flirty Flamingo. And let's see, we'll do another Pool Party. And I'm going to, I just need to find the direction that this goes in. And I'm going to do one more Flirty Flamingo. Now I'm going to add some leaves. So I'm going to bring in the leaf stamp image with the Granny Apple Green. I'm just going to try to fill in some of this white space. Let's see, I'm going to add one right here that's going to go off the side. Just a few more. So I've pretty much created my own designer paper. Now my next step, I want to go ahead and do the sentiment, and that's going to be with Granny Apple Green. And this one is the thank you. And I also have a silver edge satin ribbon. I've gone ahead and cut a piece. I'm using my Flirty Flamingo Dark Blends marker. I'm just going to color my own ribbon. You see how pretty that is and it dries so fast because it's alcohol based. Okay, so look how pretty that ribbon is once it's colored. And you can do any of the blends colors. I'm adding snail to the back of my panel. I'm just going to wrap that around to the back. Make sure it's nice and straight. Now I'm all done with my mask. So this is a pretty simple card. You just have a lot of stamping to do to get your background done. Oh, you guys like this one too. I bet you love the ribbon. So when I buy ribbon, I always make sure I have plenty of white. Any of the white ribbons that we sell, only because we have so many blends markers now that we can color the ribbon any color to match the project we're working on. This is going to go right in the center. And we're going to pop one more time. I cut my nails this morning. I'm having a hard time peeling the paper. So look how pretty that is. It's a clean and simple card, but with lots of stamping, a little bit of designer paper, and then the ribbon to offset the color. So there's card number 2. Let me set up for my last 2 cards. Okay, on this one, I'm using Call Me Clover and Pineapple Punch. I'm actually creating 2 cards. And these are the envelopes that go with those 2 cards. Okay, I gotta move some stuff around here. I'm getting bogged down. Let me see what I need. So for this one, I'm using Happy Birthday. I've got 2 pieces of Pineapple Punch, and they both measure 9 3/4 by 3 3/8, and I scored at 4 7/8. These are white pieces, again, from some cards that I cut up. So I got 2 that measure 4 7/8. I know you guys don't like those fractions. 4 7/8 by 3 1/4, so times 2. And then what I did is I cut one of the card bases to measure 3 1/4 by 5. And I just cut it at an angle. So what's going to happen is we're going to get 2 cards out of that. We're going to glue this at the top, and we're going to glue this one at the bottom. So we can make 2 cards. They're going to be identical, except the designer paper is going to be at the top on one card, like that. And again, I don't have these made up ahead of time. They're in my head. I hope they come out the way I want. Okay, there's my 2 panels. Next, I used 2 of the corrugated elements. And it does not matter that there's going to be a slit where they join, because we're going to cover that with a flower. So now I'm just going to trim that up. It just makes a nice little finish. Okay, so now I got to turn them right side up. Okay, those are right side up. Now what I've done for each card, I have 3 leaves that I've gone ahead and stamped with the Call Me Clover and hand cut. The same with the 2 flowers. Now I'm going to do something different with these flowers. I'm going to bring in some paper towel. I'm using our shimmer paint, and this is the champagne. I've gone ahead and filled this spray bottle about 3/4 full with rubbing alcohol, just regular rubbing alcohol. And then I actually took the shimmer paint and just poured, I don't even know how many drops I have in here. You just have to experiment. And I have a marble on the inside. You can hear it so that it mixes it really nice. I'm going to just spray these liberally, and you'll see how nice and shiny. So on the first card, we use the Clear Wink of Stella, and on this one, we're actually using some homemade shimmer mist. And let me see if I can get how sparkly and shiny that is. I'm hoping the light will capture it. So because it's rubbing alcohol, it's already almost dry. So let's glue. I lost my snail. Oh, it's right here. I'm going to glue these to the front, and these will be dry. You can see they're starting to flatten out already. Just make sure if you do the shimmer mist that you cover your counter, because it does kind of go everywhere. Oh, you know what? I didn't trim these enough. Let me get my paper cutter. So the measurements are going to be a little off. I know what I did. I ended up cutting it smaller, the card base, because it would not fit in the envelopes. So some of you guys might find that your cards are a little tight for the envelopes. And what I'm telling everyone is to just cut off 1/8 of an inch. Because with all of the bulk, let me see if this is the right size. Because of all of the bulk with the layers, it ended up being a little too tight. So you guys get to watch me cut my paper. I ended up cutting the card base, and I think I forgot to cut this layer is what I did. Okay, now we're ready to glue down the flower. Kathy is asking, is the shimmer paint alcohol spritz stays in the bottle a while? I'm going to tell you the truth about this. I have had this bottle since we sold shimmer paint years ago. I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, and it's still good. And you can see on the bottom, it mixes well. So this is very old, and it hasn't evaporated or anything, and it still works perfectly for me. I've always just kept it on hand. I had a feeling that we would sell it again someday, and of course we did. It came back. Okay, my flower is still a little damp, so I'm hoping these are going to stay. It's sticking to my fingers, what's going on. Let me see, I'm gonna put this right here. So you do need to let these dry a little, but I'm gonna keep going. I might have to go back and add more glue just because it's still a little damp. Oh, wait a minute. One of these is upside down. I was gonna say the designer paper should be the other direction. See, that's what happens when I don't have my glasses on. I can't even see that the text was upside down. Okay, now we're in business. So what I want to do at this point is add the sentiment so I can figure out how much room I have left to add my leaves. So this one's going to go on the bottom, and that one's going to go on the top. Now we're going to glue some leaves. It's taking me a little longer because I'm doing 2 cards at the same time. Let's see, we'll put one there. I'm trying to decide if I want to do 3. Okay, that looks all right. So 3 more to go. And then I'll have one more step. So on this one, now you can see that this one is still damp. There we go. Now on this one, I'll just add 1 leaf on the bottom and then the 2 leaves on the top. Now my last step, what I've done, the bling that came with the kit was with the mint macaron color. I wanted to show you how easy it is to color these with Blends markers. I wanted the same green, the Call Me Clover, that I have in the background. So you can see how easy that was to color. And they do dry rather quickly because it's alcohol based. So there's one card. Oh, and I have a bunch of cards to show you guys that I've made. I've been putting them on my blog too, but okay, let me move all of this aside. Now I do have 3 of these left over, so I'm actually going to use them on card number 1. Let me see, I'm gonna do 1 here. So my bling will be all gone. Okay, so this was the last 2 cards that I made. This was card number 1 with the poofy flower. Card number 2 with the masked designer paper that I made on my own. Now, let me bring in some more cards. This is another one that I made using the background layer from one of the cards. I actually stamped the flower twice without re-inking to achieve a lighter, and then I cut just the center out to layer that. This one is a Z-fold. Again, this is from a card front. This is one of the layers. Another Z-fold going the vertical way this time. And I used the stitch shape die to cut out my circle. This one was very popular on social media. Everybody loved the color combination. I used the polka dot embossing folder on the gray granite layer. And again, I just cut out one of the flowers and then used layers from the kit. And my last one is this one. I just felt that this pre-printed flower layer is so pretty. I didn't want to do anything to it. So all I did was cut it out with a stitch square die and didn't add anything to it. So there's all my cards for today. I did the 3 or the 4 back here with you, and these I did separately. And if you're a subscriber of mine, I will be sending you a newsletter with all of the instructions on how to create all of these cards. So I hope you enjoyed my cards for today, and I'm so glad you are here. If you have any questions, make sure you put your questions in the comments, and I'll try to answer them later. So have a good day, everyone, and I will see you again sometime next week for another Facebook Live. Have a good day.